Welcome to Shoropsa's classes. This is Professor Himatri Datta. So in today's lecture we'll be talking about a topic from international economics. So in this topic we'll be talking about a particular question. So this question says, first I'll write down the question. It says define trade triangle. So we have to define trade triangle. So we have to define trade triangle and signify the implications of all three sides of trade triangle. So we have to signify the implication of all three sides of the trade triangle. So first of all we'll do what? We'll define what is trade triangle is all about. Then we'll signify the implication of these three sides of the trade triangle. So for this, first what we'll do is we simply know the openings. So in this question it is given, define the trade triangle and signify the implications of all three sides of the triangle. So we know opening of a country to international trade means exposing the country to a new set of relative prices. So the answer would be opening up of a country. So opening up of a country to international trade means opening up of a country to international trade eventually means what? It means exposing the country to a new set of relative prices. It is exposing the country to a new set of relative prices. So it is like exposing the country to a new set of relative prices. When these different prices are available, when these different prices are available, what happens? The home countries producers and consumers, the home countries producers and consumers do what? The home countries producers and consumer will adjust to them by reallocating their production and consumption. So for this we know that is the opening of a country to international trade means exposing the country to a new set of relative prices. So there are various set of relative prices. So now when these different prices are available, the home country's producers and consumers will adjust to them by reallocating their production and consumption pattern. This reallocation leads to gains from trade. So this reallocation leads to what? This reallocations leads to gains from trade. So the ultimate source of gain from international trade is the difference in relative prices in autarky between countries. So we know basically the gain from international trade is what? So the gain from international trade is basically the difference in relative prices in autarky between countries, and relative prices in autarky between countries. So we know in autarky what happens. Now for this, it will be easier for you if I draw a diagram for this. So now in this diagram we will measure good y on the vertical axis and we will measure good x on the horizontal axis. We will measure good y on the vertical axis. Now simply we will draw the PPF. So we will simply draw the PPF, which looks like this, and now from this PPF we will draw the CI line. So we will draw the CI line. So it is tangential to this point. So now if it is tangential to this point, we will simply draw from these two lines we will draw the terms of trade line. From here we will draw the terms of trade line. Allow me to draw it again so that it will be easier for you to understand. So here this is the PPF, this is CI1, and this is the PPF. Now from PPF there is another line which will go from the PPF, that is the terms of trade line, which will eventually go from here. It will go from the middle of this like this. So this is what? This is nothing but the relative price line, which is Px by Py, and we measure here good X, we measure good Y here. Now we know that is at this point which is denoted by E, the home country is in equilibrium in autarky state. So at point E, the home country is in equilibrium at autarky. Now we know with the opening of trade, it faces a new international terms of trade, which is Px by Py. So it was Px by Py here. Now after trade, what happens? There is another possibility after trade which has come up. After trade, due to presence of different relative price, now the terms of trade line is tangent like this. it has shifted from here to here. So according to it, we'll get an C1I curve here, a higher C1I curve, which will be tangential to this line. So we'll denote it by C2, and this is a new Px by Py. This will be 1 and this will be 2. So what has happened that when the country faces international trade, so after trade what happens? The country reaches a point which will denote by C dash. So country reaches a point C dash. So given the relatively higher international price of good X, so now the international price of good X is higher, as you can see at this point. What has happened is that the production moves to E dash. So now the production moves to this point. The production moves to E dash, and the consumption moves to what point? The consumption moves to at this point. So when this higher price, it is quite evident it will come to X2 instead of X1. So it was X1 first, now it has come to X2. So the production of X has increased due to the higher relative price. Now the tangency between the international terms of trade and PPF is what? So tangency between international terms of trade and PPF is basically known as the point E dash. So at the same time, Y good is relatively less expensive to international price. So now Y good is less expensive. So what happens is that when Y good is less expensive, so the consumer increase their consumption of it and begin consuming at C dash. So now consumer does what? Consumer does consume more of Y because of its relatively less price. So consumer consume X3 amount and Y3 amount after trade, and here it was Y1. So as a result, what happens is that we know that is where the terms of trade line is tangent to highest community indifference curve attainable. When the terms of trade line is tangent to the highest community indifference curve attainable, here C dash lies outside the PPF and is obtained by exporting the amount of X3 X2 of the X good and exchanging it for Y2 Y3 import of the Y good. Now it is possible, as you can see, C dash lies beyond the PPF curve, that is production possibility frontier curve. So now this amount, as you can see, this amount Y1 Y3 can be imported. So Y1 Y3 can be imported only by exporting this amount, only by exporting this amount of good. So only by exporting X3 X2 amount the country can exchange. Now the country is clearly better off because trade permits its consumer on the higher indifference curve. So it is quite evident that the indifference curve is higher. So trade permits what? To attain higher indifference curve, to attain higher ICs. So we know that, which is CI2, as you can see it is given as CI2. Trade has thus enabled the country to attain a higher level of welfare than was possible under autarky. Now the trade is also evident in this figure because production of good X is OX2 and consumption of good X is OX3. So the difference between these two quantities, which is X3 X2, is represent the export of good X by country. So this amount is exported from the country, and the difference between, now the similarly Y OY2 is the production and OY3 is the consumption. So this amount needs to be, which is Y3 Y2 amount, needs to be what? It needs to be imported from the other country. So further, the trade pattern summarized conveniently in trade triangle. So this is basically trade triangle is FC dash. It is basically FC dash and E dash. So it's basically F. If you denote it by F, this point F, it is basically F, C dash, this point and this point. So this is the trade triangle. So this point is basically what? It is basically the known as trade triangle. This triangle for home country has following economic interpretation. So what are the following economic interpretation? The base of the right triangle, which is this, the base of the right triangle represent the export of the country, and the height of the vertical distance, as you can see, height of the vertical distance does what? It represent the import of the country. It represent the import of the country. And finally, the hypotenuse, which is C dash E dash, is what? It represent the trading line. As you can see, it represent the trading line. And its slope indicates the world price ratio or terms of trade. And its slope talks about what? Its slope talks about the world price ratio or terms of trade. So now we'll go to the question that we have done. So it was given define trade triangle. We have simply explained it. It signify the implication of the three sides of the triangle. We have also explained it. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any query or doubt, you can simply WhatsApp me on this number, which is 9836793076, or you can also go to our website, which is www.showrocksirclasses.com. There you will find a lot of other videos like this, and you will also get to see a lot of other materials which are needed for different entrance exam. So thank you for watching this video and have a nice day ahead.